Hello everyone. So today we'll be talking about vitamins. So these are the objectives. Though the objectives are relatively smaller, it's a fairly important chapter because there are quite a few questions on NAPLEX based on vitamins, mostly to do with the deficiency of vitamins. Okay, so we are going to focus a lot on the third objective in terms of testing. But as a part of the lesson, we are also going to focus on the structure of each vitamin. And you also need to know which vitamins are soluble, which are insoluble, and the function of each vitamin. So, what are vitamins? Vitamins are chemically unrelated organic compounds in the sense that unlike amino acids which have a core structure, the only thing that differs in each amino acid is the side group, and otherwise amino acids are all related, whereas vitamins are totally unrelated from each other structurally, functionally, in all sense. So these are chemically unrelated organic compounds which are required in trace amounts, very tiny amounts, to perform specific cellular functions. So these are essential micronutrients which are not synthesized by humans and therefore must be taken in the diet. Vitamins prevent acute deficiency disease as a lot of vitamins are coenzymes for other enzymes to function. And overall, they are useful for maintaining general health. So, who would need vitamin supplementation? There are five broad groups who might be at risk for vitamin deficiency. Number one, someone who is at a risk of malnutrition, someone who is not consuming sufficient or proper nutritive foods. It could be someone with poor diet habits or someone disadvantaged who is living in a particular geographical area that has severe scarcity of a particular food group. Next would be women during pregnancy and lactation, for the sheer fact that during these times there is an increased nutritional demand. The increased demand comes from the growing fetus or the infant. The third category would be strict vegetarians. Okay, one specific vitamin that is strictly not a part of any plant food is vitamin B12, okay, which is a fairly important vitamin. So, uh, vegetarians put themselves at a risk of being deficient in vitamin B12. People on a weight loss regime, okay, there are certain fat diets that exclude certain macronutrients, as a part of which they exclude certain micronutrients, and these people could be making themselves susceptible to be deficient in a particular vitamin. And lastly, people who are not consuming fruits and vegetables. Many vitamins are obtained through fruits and vegetables. One prime example of a vitamin that is particularly rich in fruits is vitamin C. You have that in all sour fruits. You have that in oranges, you have that in strawberries, pineapples, and so on. There are six main categories of vitamins. You have vitamins B and C, and within vitamin B there are several subcategories. But so that's why we have vitamin B as a complex. So you have vitamin B and C, both of which are water soluble vitamins, and then you have vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat soluble vitamins. Vitamins B and C are stored in trace amounts since they are water soluble, and because they are water soluble, they are excreted in urine. Therefore, vitamins B and C must be replenished. On the other hand, vitamins D, E, K, and A are released, absorbed, and transported with the fat in the diet. These fat soluble vitamins are not readily excreted in the urine, and significant quantities are stored in liver and the fat tissue. Because it is more difficult for the body to excrete excess fat-soluble vitamins, it also makes it possible, although extremely rare, for toxic levels of these fat-soluble vitamins to rise if they are taken in excess. On the next couple of slides are a few structures that will help you get familiar with some of the um, structures of vitamins. You will see a lot of these in the next chapter, which is nucleotide metabolism, and I've kind of pulled them up from that chapter up here so that you can refer to these structures. For example, when I say that a particular vitamin has a pyrimidine ring, I want you to know that I'm talking about this particular structure here. When I say that a particular vitamin has adenine as a part of it, I want you to kind of go back and refer to this structure to know that I'm talking about this particular ring. Okay, so you can keep on flipping back and forth as and when you feel the need to. So moving forward, the first vitamin that we will talk about is vitamin B1, also known as thiamine. This is the chemical structure of thiamine. It has what is called, the yellow part is the thiazole ring. Then there is this methylene bridge, and there is amino pyrimidine. Okay, the thiazole is a heterocyclic compound that contains both sulfur and nitrogen. Now, vitamin B1, thiamine, in this form is not not active to carry out any biological function. Thiamine has to be converted into its active form, which is thiamine pyrophosphate, in order for it to be biologically active. And the two phosphate groups come from the donor molecule, which is adenosine triphosphate, ATP. ATP, which is a triphosphate molecule carrying three phosphates, donates two of its phosphate molecules, which form a covalent bond here with the thiazole ring. And in the process, ATP gets converted into adenosine monophosphate. Now it has just one phosphate group on it because it has donated two of its phosphate to thiamine, converting that into its biologically active form, which is thiamine pyrophosphate. The function of thiamine pyrophosphate is, so this enzyme, pyruvate dehydrogenase, uses thiamine pyrophosphate or TPP as its prosthetic group. Now, from the lecture on enzymes, you would know that a prosthetic group is a coenzyme that is permanently, covalently bound to that particular enzyme. So pyruvate dehydrogenase is always going to have thiamine pyrophosphate as its prosthetic group. Some of the reactions that TPP containing enzymes are involved in is energy metabolism and amino acid synthesis. In terms of energy metabolism, it is required for oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvate to form acetyl coenzyme A. Acetyl coenzyme A, or acetyl CoA, is a molecule that participates in many biochemical reactions in protein, carbohydrate, and lipid metabolism. Its main function is to deliver the acetyl group of the acetyl CoA to the citric acid cycle to be utilized for energy metabolism. Okay. Additionally, acetyl CoA is also extremely important in amino acid synthesis, as it can donate its carbon atom towards the synthesis of certain amino acids like valine, leucine, and isoleucine. Thiamine deficiency is known to cause a disease called beriberi. Beriberi is a disease that typically affects the brain because thiamine pyrophosphate is required for carbohydrate metabolism, and the brain depends on glucose metabolism for energy. Some of the symptoms of beriberi include difficulty walking, loss of sensation in hands and feet, and decreased reflexes. Additionally, it's also known to cause Wernicke's encephalopathy and Korsakoff psychosis, a combination of which is called the Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. This particular disease is usually secondary to alcohol abuse, and it can typically cause vision change, ataxia, which is the loss of coordination of muscle movements, and impaired memory. The next vitamin is riboflavin or vitamin B2. Flavins are a group of organic compounds containing tricyclic rings. So this here is riboflavin, which is vitamin B2 in its inactive form. For vitamin B2 to be in its active form, it has to be converted into flavin mononucleotide. Okay, um, so flavin mononucleotide is nothing but this riboflavin gets an addition of a phosphate molecule. Again, the phosphate donor is ATP carrying three phosphates. It's donating its one phosphate molecule to riboflavin, in turn turning it into flavin mononucleotide, and it leaves the reaction in the form of ADP. Another biologically active form of vitamin B2 is flavin adenine dinucleotide. Now, it's a fairly big structure, but it's not that difficult to comprehend. So if you notice this part of the structure, all of this is nothing but your flavin mononucleotide. If you notice this part of the structure, along with the sugar and this phosphate, is adenine nucleotide. So you have flavin mononucleotide, you have adenine nucleotide. That makes it flavin adenine dinucleotide. So this is another biologically active form of vitamin B2. Vitamin B2 or flavin mononucleotide, abbreviated as FMN, and flavin adenine dinucleotide, abbreviated as FAD, have multiple redox states. By redox, it means reduction and oxidation. They can accept up to two hydrogens. FMN and FAD can accept one hydrogen on each nitrogen. One here, the other here. So with one hydrogen, let's assume it has just one hydrogen, it can either act as a hydrogen donor by donating this hydrogen, or it can also act as a hydrogen acceptor by accepting another hydrogen on the second nitrogen atom. That is what it means by multiple redox state. It can be either a reducing agent by donating the hydrogen that it has here, or it can be an oxidizing agent by accepting another hydrogen on this nitrogen atom. Let's see an example. So here you have succinic acid. Okay. Here you have your flavin mononucleotide. All they have shown is the tricyclic structure, and all of this here is denoted as R. So you have succinic acid getting oxidized. Okay. Your succinic acid is dumping off its hydrogens, one hydrogen on each methyl group, onto the nitrogen. So in turn, now succinic acid is getting oxidized to fumaric acid, and your FMN is getting reduced to FMNH2. This is your FMNH2, where you have two hydrogens, one on each nitrogen. Similarly, FAD can facilitate a very similar kind of reaction. Flavoproteins like FMN and FAD, because of their ability to accept and donate protons, play a very important role in electron transport chain, which is something you will learn about in the second half of this class or of this course. The electron transport chain is a key generator of ATP molecules. So the deficiency of riboflavin or vitamin B2 can cause dermatitis. Dermatitis is a very general term for inflammation of the skin. It typically means itchy skin or rash, or just simply swollen reddened skin. Sometimes skin affected by dermatitis might develop blisters and flake off. Another result as a deficiency of vitamin B2 is called glossitis. Glossitis simply means inflammation or soreness of the tongue. You have papilla, which are the striated structures on the surface of your tongue that give you a sense of texture or taste. These papilla become inflamed, become red, as a result of which you lose the sensation of taste. That is simply what glossitis means. The next vitamin here is niacin or vitamin B3. This is niacin, which is a pyridine derivative. You can scroll up a few slides and take a look at the basic pyridine ring. Tryptophan, which is a major source of tryptophan, is turkey that we eat at Thanksgiving. And your body has a way of generating niacin using tryptophan as a base molecule. This niacin is then converted into nicotinamide by the addition of an amide group on the carbonyl functional group. So nicotinamide is still a biologically inactive form of vitamin B3. In order for vitamin B3 to turn into its active form, it has to be converted into nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Again, if you simply refer to the structure of FAD on the previous slide, it's very analogous to that structure. So what you have here is nicotinamide nucleotide. So you have the nicotinamide ring here, you have the sugar, you have the phosphate. That makes it a nucleotide. Had you had a base, which is a nicotinamide ring, and just the sugar, that makes it a nucleoside. Okay, there is a big difference between a nucleoside and nucleotide. More of that in nucleotide metabolism, but I thought I would just point it out. So to make it a nucleotide, you need three things. You need the base, you need the sugar, you need the phosphate. So here you have nicotinamide nucleotide, you have adenine nucleotide, making it nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Okay, and the phosphorylated form of NAD, which is NAD plus, NADP plus, is also a biologically active form of vitamin B3. Similar to FMN and FAD, NAD plus and NADP plus are coenzymes involved in oxidation reduction reactions. They have the capability to accept one hydride at the nitrogen on the pyridine ring. Let's see what kind of a reaction it facilitates. So here you have your NAD plus along with the ribose, which is the sugar and the phosphate, and here you have your adenine along with the sugar, ribose and phosphate, making it nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So a hydride ion is a hydrogen with one proton and two electrons. So the NAD plus has now accepted the hydrogen ion. The hydrogen is on the pyridine ring along with the nitrogen getting an additional electron, and in the process it's getting reduced to NADH. A kind of reaction that it would facilitate is here you have ethanol, CH3CH2OH. With the help of NAD plus, alcohol dehydrogenase converts ethanol into acetaldehyde. In the process, it's reduced NAD plus to NADH, and it's given off a free proton. The deficiency resulting from niacin is more commonly characterized as pellagra. Pellagra is a disease involving the skin, the GI tract, and the central nervous system. It is more commonly known as the disease of 3 Ds. When it comes to the skin, it's dermatitis. For the GI tract, it's diarrhea. And for the central nervous system, it's dementia. And if gone untreated, pellagra can often result in death. Hyperlipidemia is nothing but abnormally high concentration of fats and lipids in your blood. And niacin supplementation has been shown to reduce the total cholesterol levels along with the triglycerides and LDL cholesterol. At the same time, it has been shown to increase the HDL cholesterol. So niacin is a well-known supplementation to treat hyperlipidemia. The next vitamin that we will talk about is biotin or vitamin B7, also kind of commonly abbreviated as vitamin H. The reason being a lot of shampoos are fortified with biotin, as there is some uh, supposed benefit from biotin to hair. So what biotin really does, this is the structure of biotin. Biotin is covalently bound to the lysine residues of certain enzymes. These enzymes are acetyl carboxylase, propionyl carboxylase, pyruvate carboxylase. So biotin is a prosthetic factor that is bound to the lysine residues of these carboxylases. The main function of biotin is it acts as a coenzyme in these carboxylation reactions, as it serves as a carrier of activated carbon dioxide. An example here is uh, here you have pyruvate, which is getting converted into oxaloacetate with the help of pyruvate carboxylase. Essentially what it's doing is it's transferring the carbon dioxide with the help of uh, biotin, which is a prosthetic factor for pyruvate carboxylase. It's transferring the carbon dioxide on bicarbonate onto pyruvate right underneath the methyl group and turning pyruvate into oxaloacetate. Oxaloacetate is an important molecule because it is an important intermediate in amino acid synthesis. There are several amino acids that are formed from oxaloacetate. For example, aspartate is directly formed from oxaloacetate, and then there are certain amino acids such as methionine, lysine, threonine, which are formed from aspartate. So indirectly, oxaloacetate contributes to the formation of uh, like at least four amino acids. Deficiency of biotin is uncommon, as a large portion of biotin actually is synthesized by our gut bacteria, our intestinal bacteria. Intestinal bacteria are also known to synthesize from some other vitamins like thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin. However, there is a substance called avidin in raw egg that can bind to biotin. Now, having one or two raw eggs doesn't really cause biotin deficiency, but in the rare instance of biotin deficiency, it's nothing serious except for some mild symptoms such as nausea, dermatitis, and loss of appetite. The next vitamin is pantothenic acid or vitamin B5. Pantothenic acid has this gigantic structure where it has three different parts. One is the body, which is the vitamin B5. It has the head, if you will, which is the adenosine diphosphate, and it has this tail in the form of beta mercaptoethylamine. Um, so, in a sense, it is a structural component of coenzyme A. Um, and what makes it all the more important is that coenzyme A is a molecule that is required for the citric acid cycle, or also known as TCA cycle or Krebs cycle, which is a series of metabolic reactions that generate energy through the oxidation of acetate derived from carbs, fats, and proteins into chemical energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate. The deficiency for pantothenic acid is not well characterized, not because it is not important, but partly because coenzyme A is a molecule that is omnipresent. You practically find coenzyme A in every metabolic process at some stage, making it difficult to pinpoint any a particular deficiency to pantothenic acid deficiency. One of the more important vitamins, not to undermine the importance of others, but especially for women and more so for pregnant women, is folic acid or vitamin B9. The structural components of vitamin B9 is you have a pteridine precursor, which is a ring that has a pteridine ring to it. You have para-aminobenzoic acid, abbreviated as PABA, and you can have one or more glutamic acid residues to make up folic acid. Now, folic acid in this form is not a biologically active molecule. Folic acid has to be converted into its active form, which is called tetrahydrofolate, or abbreviated as THF, in order for it to be biologically active. It has a very important function because it is involved in the synthesis of amino acids and DNA. What tetrahydrofolate does is it receives one carbon containing unit from donor molecules, like some amino acids. It could be some amino acids like serine, for example, and transfers them to intermediate in the synthesis of other amino acids, purines, and a particular pyrimidine called DTMP, uh, deoxythymidine monophosphate. So it's one of the DNA molecules. So it's a fairly important vitamin because it's involved not only in the synthesis of amino acids, it is also involved in the synthesis of molecules that go on to make DNA. So this is folic acid as absorbed from the diet, which is in its biologically inactive form. It has to be converted into its biologically active form, which is tetrahydrofolate. Now, as the word hydrofolate, tetrahydro would suggest, it has four additional hydrogens. So you have these nitrogens getting reduced, and then you have two additional hydrogens, makes it tetrahydrofolate. And tetrahydrofolate is the biologically active form of vitamin B9. Now, where does exactly this molecule carry the one carbon units? The one carbon unit can be carried either on this particular nitrogen, or it can be carried on this particular nitrogen, or both these nitrogens can form a bridge of sorts to carry that one carbon unit. That one carbon unit can be something like a methyl group that we'll see in this example. So in this example, what you are seeing is you have an amino acid getting formed. So you have carbon dioxide, you have ammonium coming together with tetrahydrofolate. Only a portion of tetrahydrofolate is being shown here, which is the relevant part of it. You have four hydrogens on both the nitrogens, and you have these two hydrogens. And then you have the one carbon unit that is being carried on a bridge between these two nitrogen atoms. So that one carbon unit here is a methyl group, and along with the help of a coenzyme, NAD, what it's really doing here is it's synthesizing an amino acid, and you can guess what this amino acid is, because there is only one amino acid that is not chiral, because it has two substituents which are the same. So here you see how folic acid has directly contributed towards the synthesis of an amino acid, which is glycine. Deficiency with folic acid can be some pretty serious matter. Um, so folate-free diet can cause a deficiency within a few weeks. It is one of the most common vitamin deficiency in the US, particularly in pregnant women due to increased demand, and another group is alcoholics due to poor intestinal absorption. Uh, what happens with folic acid deficiency is one particular um, symptom can be anemia, a particular type of anemia which is called megaloblastic anemia. It is a type of anemia that results from the accumulation of megaloblasts. Megaloblasts, as the name would suggest, mega is large. So megaloblasts are really large but immature red blood cells. So these large immature red blood cells can accumulate, and so you have these immature red blood cells because of impaired DNA synthesis. DNA synthesis plays a big role towards the maturation of red blood cells, and if you don't have enough of these purines, that leads to the synthesis of an immature red blood cell. So that results in a particular type of anemia called megaloblastic anemia. The second, more severe uh, result as a deficiency of folic acid is what is called the neural tube defect in fetus. So pregnant women are advised to take at least 400 micrograms of folic acid per day, and not doing so can result in a particular disorder called spina bifida. Spina bifida is also known as split spine. So what happens is the fetus has incomplete formation of the spinal cord, okay, as a result of which it can have severe uh, mobility issues, and can also result in uh, you know mortality during infancy. Another thing it can cause spina bifida can result is what is called anencephaly. Anencephaly is underdeveloped brain, or where a large part of the brain or skull is actually absent. So, like I said at the beginning, it is one of the vitamins, the deficiency of which can cause some seriously lethal effects.